The suitcase hit the sidewalk so hard that the zipper burst open, spilling my clothes across the concrete. My mother stood in the doorway, her face twisted with disgust, while my father loaded the last of my belongings into garbage bags. Behind them, my younger sister Emma smiled that cold, satisfied smile I'd known my whole life. "It's futile to keep a girl like you in this house," my father shouted. "Emma just got a real job. She's the successful one now. You're a failure, and we're done supporting you." I sat on that curb for what felt like hours, watching my entire life scattered across the pavement. A blouse I'd worn to my college graduation lay in a puddle. The framed photo of my grandmother, the only person who'd ever believed in me, had shattered when it hit the ground. Neighbors peered through their curtains, and I could see Mrs. Henderson from next door recording the whole thing on her phone. By tomorrow, everyone in the neighborhood would know that the Walsh family had finally gotten rid of their disappointing daughter. My phone buzzed with notifications. Emma had already posted on social media. The caption read, "Finally landed a real job at a prestigious tech company. Unlike some people, I actually made something of myself. Starting Monday in marketing at Horizon Solutions." The post had 30 likes in 5 minutes. Comments poured in from relatives and family friends congratulating her, some adding digs about how nice it was to see at least one Walsh daughter succeeding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell every single one of them the truth. But I couldn't. Not yet. See, what my family didn't know, what nobody in this neighborhood knew, was that I wasn't a failure. 5 years ago, while they all slept peacefully in their beds, I'd been working in the basement on something that would change my life. I'd started a small tech consulting firm called Horizon Solutions. It began with just me and a laptop, taking on small clients, building websites, managing digital marketing campaigns for local businesses. I worked 3 jobs during the day to pay for community college, since my parents had given all the college money to Emma. At night, while Emma posted selfies and went to parties, I coded. I learned. I grew my business. And it worked. Within 2 years, I had 10 employees. Within 4 years, 50. Last year, we hit 200 employees and $15 million in annual revenue. 3 months ago, the board approached me with an offer. The previous CEO wanted to retire, and they wanted to buy him out. They asked if I'd be willing to step into the role. I said yes. At 28 years old, I became the CEO of a company I'd built from nothing. But I'd kept it all secret. I lived modestly, drove an old car, dressed simply when I came home to visit. Why? Because I knew my family. The moment they found out I had money, they'd want it. They'd claim credit for it. They'd find a way to take it from me, or make my life miserable for not sharing it on their terms. So I used my middle name professionally, Angelina Carter, and kept my personal life completely separate from my work life. Now, sitting on that curb with my broken belongings, I realized my secret was about to collide with reality in the most spectacular way possible. Emma had just gotten a job at my company, at Horizon Solutions. She'd be working for me, and she had no idea. I gathered what I could salvage of my belongings and called a taxi. The driver helped me load everything into the trunk, giving me sympathetic looks but asking no questions. I directed him to a budget motel on the east side of town. It wasn't much, but it had clean sheets and a door that locked. I paid for a week with cash from my personal account. My business accounts held more money than my parents would earn in 10 lifetimes, but I'd always kept them separate. That separation was about to become very important. That night, I lay on the scratchy motel bedspread and checked my work email. My HR director, Patricia, had sent me a message marked urgent. Need to discuss new hire Emma Walsh. She listed family connections during her interview and has been telling people she has insider recommendations. Want to verify before her start date Monday. Please advise. I stared at that email for a long time. Emma had not only gotten the job but had apparently lied about having connections at the company. She'd used fraud to gain employment. That alone was grounds for termination before she ever started. But I didn't write back immediately. Instead, I made a decision. I would let Emma start. I would watch her. I would see exactly who my sister really was when she thought nobody was looking. I replied to Patricia, "Thank you for flagging this. Let's observe her performance during the probationary period. Please document everything carefully. I'll be watching this situation personally." Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I cried. Not because I was sad about losing my family. I'd lost them a long time ago, really. I cried because even now, even after everything, some small part of me had hoped they might eventually see me. Really see me. But that hope was gone now, scattered on the sidewalk with my broken picture frame. My phone rang. It was my mother. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "You're embarrassing us," she hissed before I could even say hello. "Mrs. Henderson told me you're staying at that disgusting motel on Riverside. What will people think?" "I don't know, Mom. What will they think about parents who throw their daughter out on the street? Don't you dare try to make us look bad. Emma has a real future now. A real career. She needs support, and we can't waste our energy on you anymore. Your father and I have decided that Emma needs a car for her new job. A professional car. You need to help." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Help how? You just kicked me out. You can get a loan. You have decent credit, don't you? Emma needs a car by Monday." "No." The silence on the other end was arctic. "What did you say?" I said no. "I'm not getting a loan so Emma can have a car. Figure it out yourselves." My mother's voice went cold and hard. "You ungrateful, selfish girl. After everything we've done for you, you'll regret this." She hung up. I sat there holding the phone and I realized something. They would never stop. No matter what I did, no matter how much I gave, it would never be enough. They would always demand more, always find me lacking, always choose Emma over me. But I had something they didn't know about. I had power, real power. And on Monday morning, when Emma walked into Horizon Solutions for her first day, that power dynamic was going to shift in ways none of them could imagine. I just had to decide what to do with it. Monday morning arrived with storm clouds gathering over the city. I got to the office early, before 6, which was normal for me. I went through my usual routine, reviewing weekend reports, checking in with our international teams, preparing for the executive meeting at 9. I'd changed my appearance over the years, since my family last really looked at me. My hair was professionally styled and highlighted. I wore designer suits, and I carried myself with the confidence of someone who'd earned her place. Nobody who'd known me as the quiet, overlooked Walsh daughter would recognize me as Angelina Carter, CEO. At 8:30, I watched from my office window as Emma arrived. She pulled up in my father's old sedan, the one they'd apparently decided was good enough for her after I refused to help buy something better. She got out wearing a dress that was too flashy for a first day, too much makeup, hair curled in elaborate spirals. She looked like she was going to a cocktail party, not a professional office. I watched her check her reflection in the car window, smile at herself, and strut toward the entrance. Everything about her body language screamed entitlement. My assistant, Marcus, knocked on my door. "Morning, boss. We have the new marketing hires starting today. You wanted to be notified." "Thank you, Marcus. How many?" 5 total. "Should I have HR send you their files?" "Just one. Emma Walsh. I want to personally review her progress." Marcus raised an eyebrow but didn't question it. He'd worked for me for 3 years and knew when I had my reasons. "I'll have Patricia copy you on all reports." Throughout that first week, I watched Emma like a hawk watches a mouse, and what I saw made my stomach turn. She treated the junior staff like servants, snapping her fingers at assistants, demanding coffee in a tone that made people flinch. In meetings, she interrupted others, talked over people with more experience, and took credit for ideas that clearly weren't hers. On Wednesday, I sat in on a department meeting disguised as a routine CEO observation. I did this occasionally with all departments, so nobody questioned it. Emma was there, sitting at the far end of the conference table. She looked directly at me twice, but her gaze slid right past. To her, I was just another executive, Someone she might need to impress eventually, but not someone she recognized. But I recognized everything about her. The way she twisted her hair when she was about to lie. The way her voice got higher when she was pretending to be sweet. The way her eyes went flat and cold when she thought nobody important was watching. "I think we should pivot the entire campaign," Emma announced, interrupting Brian, our senior marketing director, mid-sentence. "The current strategy is outdated. I've drafted something much more innovative." Brian, who'd been with the company for 7 years and had a master's degree in marketing, kept his expression neutral. "We've been working on this campaign for 3 months, with input from 12 team members and client feedback. What specific elements do you think need changing?" "All of it," Emma said with a dismissive wave. "I'll email you my proposal." After the meeting, Brian stopped by my office. "We need to talk about Emma Walsh." "I'm listening." "She submitted a proposal this morning. It's nearly identical to a draft that Jordan in Creative sent around last week. She changed maybe 10 words and put her name on it. Jordan is devastated. He spent 2 weeks on that concept." I felt anger burn in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. "Document everything. Timestamps, email trails, witnesses. I want a complete file." "There's more," Brian continued. "She's been telling people she has connections in upper management. She implied to Stevens in accounting that she could put in a good word or cause problems depending on how helpful people were to her. That sounds like intimidation." "It is intimidation. Half the junior staff is terrified of her, and she's been here 4 days." That afternoon, I called an all-hands department meeting for marketing. Emma sat in the front row, looking smug. I stood at the front of the room and talked about integrity, about company values, about how success at Horizon Solutions meant lifting others up, not tearing them down. I watched Emma the whole time. She sat there examining her nails, clearly thinking none of it applied to her. The situation at the motel wasn't getting better either. On Thursday evening, I returned from work to find my parents waiting in the parking lot. They'd been there for an hour. According to the front desk clerk, who looked apologetic and nervous. "There you are," my father said, striding toward me. "We need to talk." "I have nothing to say to you." "Well, we have plenty to say to you." My mother stepped forward, her voice rising. "Emma is working so hard at her new job, and you're living in this dump making our family look pathetic. You could at least get a decent apartment." "With what money? You kicked me out, remember?" "Don't be dramatic," my father snapped. "You're employed. You can afford better than this. What will Emma's coworkers think if they find out her sister lives in a motel?" The absurdity of it all almost made me laugh. They were worried about appearances, about Emma's reputation, while simultaneously ensuring I had nothing. "Emma needs things," my mother continued. "Professional clothes, a laptop, her own phone plan instead of being on ours. You need to contribute to the family. I'm not part of your family anymore. You made that clear." My father's face turned red. "How dare you speak to your mother that way? We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. You owe us." "I owe you nothing." "We'll see about that," my father said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "You think you can just walk away? We have lawyers too, you know. We've been talking to someone about our options." A chill ran down my spine. "What are you talking about?" "Back rent," my mother said with a cruel smile. 18 years of room and board. We calculated it. With interest, you owe us at least $50,000. We're going to get what we're owed." They left me standing there in the parking lot, frozen. The motel manager came out, wringing his hands. "I'm sorry, miss, but they were causing a scene. Other guests complained. If it happens again, I'll have to ask you to leave." I nodded numbly and went to my room. That night I barely slept. I knew their lawsuit threat was probably baseless. Parents couldn't charge their adult children for childhood expenses. But baseless didn't mean it wouldn't cause damage. Lawsuits cost money to defend. They generated publicity. They created stress and distraction. And at work, Emma was getting bolder. By Friday, she'd positioned herself as some kind of rising star, at least in her own mind. She spent her lunch hour in the cafeteria, loudly discussing her brilliant marketing ideas with anyone who would listen. She name-dropped constantly, hinting at connections she didn't have, implying she was destined for rapid promotion. Friday afternoon, I got an urgent call from Patricia in HR. "We need to talk, now." She came to my office with a thick folder. "Emma Walsh is creating a hostile work environment. I have 6 formal complaints from coworkers. She's been spreading rumors, making threats, taking credit for others' work, and generally terrorizing the junior staff. Normally, I'd recommend immediate termination during probation, but she's been smart about it. Nothing she's done is quite fireable on its own. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And if we terminate her this early, she could claim discrimination or retaliation, especially since she's been telling people she has family connections here. What do you recommend? Document everything. Give her clear warnings. Build an airtight case. Then terminate at the end of probation if behavior doesn't improve. It'll take 60 days, but it'll be bulletproof." I agreed, even though every instinct screamed to end this now. But Patricia was right. We had to do this by the book. That evening, as I was leaving the office, I found an envelope on my desk. No return address. Inside was a legal letter from Patterson and Associates, attorneys at law. My parents were suing me for $50,000 in back rent and expenses. The letter detailed 18 years of claimed costs: food, shelter, clothing, utilities, and something they called emotional care and guidance. It was absurd. It was vindictive. It was also legally filed with the county courthouse. My hands shook as I read it. They were really doing this. They were going to drag me through a public lawsuit, air our family's dirty laundry, damage my reputation, all because I wouldn't hand over money to Emma. I looked out my office window at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Emma was probably celebrating her first week at her prestigious new job, having no idea she was working for the sister she'd spent a lifetime tormenting. Somewhere out there, my parents were probably toasting their lawsuit, confident they'd found a way to punish me and profit from it at the same time. But they'd all made a critical mistake. They'd pushed me into a corner, and a cornered animal is the most dangerous kind. The lawsuit hit the local news on Monday morning. I was in the office by 6 as usual when Marcus burst in with his tablet. "Boss, you need to see this." The headline read, "Local parents sue ungrateful daughter for back rent." The article painted a heartbreaking picture of elderly parents, struggling and betrayed by the daughter they'd sacrificed everything to raise. They'd given an interview, my mother crying on camera about how much they'd given me, how little I'd appreciated it, how I'd abandoned them the moment Emma found success. The article mentioned that I'd been kicked out, but framed it as asked to leave so the family could support their younger daughter's promising career. It talked about how I was living in a motel, making it sound like a choice rather than a consequence. And it mentioned prominently that my parents were seeking $50,000 in compensation for my childhood. The comment section was vicious. Strangers who knew nothing about my life called me selfish, entitled, heartless. Someone had found my personal social media and posted screenshots of normal posts I'd made years ago, twisting them into evidence of my terrible character. "It gets worse," Marcus said quietly. "The article mentions you by name, full name, Angelina Carter Walsh." My stomach dropped. They used both names? Yes. Anyone who knows you professionally now knows your family situation. And anyone who knows your family now can find your professional identity. I pulled up the article on my computer, and there it was. My full legal name, connecting Angelina Walsh, the sued daughter, to Angelina Carter, CEO of Horizon Solutions. The company wasn't mentioned directly, but it wouldn't take much digging. Within an hour, my lawyer called. "This is problematic. They're trying to damage your reputation publicly, probably hoping you'll settle to make it go away. Will the case hold up? No. It's frivolous. Parents can't charge adult children for raising them, but fighting it will be expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining, and the publicity is already damaging you. What do you recommend? Settle. Give them $20,000 to go away. It's cheaper than fighting. Absolutely not. I won't reward this behavior. Then prepare for a long, ugly fight. By Tuesday, the first client called. Henderson Tech, one of our major accounts worth $2 million annually, wanted a meeting. Their CEO, Walter Henderson, had seen the news article. His assistant was polite but firm. Mr. Henderson has concerns about the nature of the publicity surrounding your personal life. He'd like to discuss how this might impact our partnership. I took the meeting that afternoon. Walter, a man in his 60s who I'd worked with for 3 years, sat across from me in the conference room with his CFO and legal counsel. Angelina, we've had a good relationship, Walter began. But my board is concerned. We can't be associated with someone whose character is being publicly questioned. My character isn't in question. My family is attempting extortion, and I'm refusing to comply. Maybe so, but perception matters. Our shareholders are asking questions. We need to consider whether this partnership still makes sense. I spent an hour explaining the situation, providing context, but I could see it wasn't enough. Walter's board had made up their minds. Henderson Tech would pause our contract pending resolution of my family matters. $2 million in revenue, suspended because my parents decided to weaponize a lawsuit. Wednesday brought an emergency board meeting. 7 board members sat around the table, their faces serious. Stuart Michaels, a board member who'd always been skeptical of my leadership, led the questioning. This publicity is damaging the company, he said bluntly. We've had 3 client inquiries about your reliability. The press is calling. Our investors are nervous. I'm handling a personal legal matter, I replied evenly. It has nothing to do with my leadership of this company. It has everything to do with it when it costs us clients and creates instability. Margaret Chen, one of my supporters on the board, spoke up. Stuart, Angelina built this company from nothing. One baseless lawsuit doesn't erase years of exceptional leadership. It does if it damages our reputation and bottom line. The meeting went on for 2 hours. In the end, they didn't ask me to step down, but the warning was clear. Resolve this quickly, or face consequences. At work, Emma was thriving in the chaos. She'd seen the news, realized it was about me, and decided to use it to her advantage. In the break room, I heard her holding court with a group of junior employees. It's so sad, she was saying, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. My sister has always been troubled. Our parents tried everything, but she just couldn't get her life together. Now she's trying to paint them as villains when they just want what they're owed. She didn't realize I was standing in the hallway just outside, or that HR had installed new security cameras after the complaints about her behavior. Every word was being recorded. Later that day, Patricia called me again. I need to report something. Emma Walsh has been openly discussing her personal family situation at work, and it's creating an uncomfortable environment for other employees. She doesn't know you're her sister, obviously, but she's talking about you by name, making disparaging comments. That's workplace harassment. Technically, yes. But she doesn't know she's harassing her boss. It's a unique situation. Document it anyway. Thursday brought a new crisis. I arrived at the office to find my parents in the lobby. They were demanding to see Emma, wanting to take her to lunch to celebrate her first week. The receptionist, flustered, had called security. I watched from my office window overlooking the lobby. My mother wore her best dress, the one she saved for church. My father had on a suit he probably hadn't worn since Emma's college graduation. They looked like proud parents, beaming and excited. For Emma, they dressed up. For Emma, they showed up. Emma came down from her floor, saw them, and her face lit up. She hugged them both, laughing. They linked arms and headed toward the exit. But as they passed the directory board in the lobby, my mother stopped. She squinted at something. Then her hand flew to her mouth. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I saw her pointing at the directory. My name was listed there, Angelina Carter, CEO, Suite 1200. My father moved closer, reading it. His face went from confusion to shock, to something that looked like rage. Emma was tugging at their arms, trying to pull them toward lunch, oblivious. My mother shook her head, still staring at the directory. She pulled out her phone and started typing. Within seconds, my phone buzzed with a text. "Carter is your middle name. Is this you? Are you the CEO?" I didn't respond. I watched as they argued in the lobby, my mother showing my father something on her phone, probably photos from the company website. Security was approaching them, asking them to either proceed to lunch or leave the building. My father jabbed his finger at my name on the directory, saying something angry. Emma finally looked where they were pointing. Even from 12 floors up, I saw her face change. Confusion, realization, fury. They left, all three of them, my mother practically dragging Emma out the door. My father turned back at the last moment, looked up at the building, his face full of rage. My phone exploded with messages. "Mother, how long have you been lying to us? Father, you're the CEO and you let us think you were a failure? Emma, are you serious? This is where I work? You've been watching me?" I turned off my phone and sat in my office, hands shaking. Marcus knocked quietly. "Your parents were in the lobby. Security had to escort them out. They recognized your name on the directory." "I know. Emma works here. She's your sister." "I know. Boss, this is going to get complicated." "It already is." That night, Emma sent me an email. Not a text, an email to my work address. Professional and cold. Subject: meeting request. "Dear Miss Carter, I would like to request a meeting to discuss a marketing proposal that requires CEO approval. Please advise your availability. Sincerely, Emma Walsh, Marketing Associate." She was playing it cool, pretending she just wanted a normal business meeting. But I knew my sister. She was plotting something. The question was what? I replied, "Tomorrow, 2 p.m., my office." Then I called my lawyer. "They know who I am now. They know I have money. This is about to get much worse. Then we need to prepare for the worst." But I wasn't prepared for how bad it would actually get. None of us were. Emma arrived at my office at exactly 2 p.m. the next day. She wore a black dress suit that was too expensive for her salary, her hair pulled back severely, her face a mask of professional coldness. She walked past Marcus without a word, knocked once on my door, and entered when I called out. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. I saw the little girl who'd stolen my toys and broken them just to watch me cry. I saw the teenager who'd spread rumors about me at school. I saw the young woman who'd watched our parents throw me onto the street and smiled. She saw. I don't know what she saw. Her sister? Her boss? Her enemy? "Hello, sister," she said finally, closing the door. "Hello, Emma. I understand you have a proposal." She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Drop the act. We both know why I'm here. Do we?" Then enlighten me. "How long were you planning to keep this little secret?" She moved closer to my desk, her hands gripping the back of the visitor chair. "How long were you going to watch me work here? Watch me struggle to impress people, all while knowing you're the one in charge?" I wasn't keeping a secret. I was protecting my business from people who might exploit it. People like me, people like our parents. But since you're here, on company time, let's discuss your performance. I opened a folder on my desk. Inside were documented incidents, complaints, witness statements. Emma's face paled as I turned the pages so she could see them. Theft of intellectual property from Jordan Martinez. Intimidation of junior staff members. False claims about company connections. Spreading rumors. And creating a hostile work environment. I looked up at her. "Should I continue? You're trying to set me up. I'm doing my job, which is ensuring this company maintains its standards and values. You've violated both repeatedly." Emma's jaw clenched. She leaned forward, palms flat on my desk. "Here's what's going to happen. You're not going to fire me. You're not going to discipline me. Because if you do, I'll make sure everyone knows you hired your own sister just to humiliate her. I didn't hire you. HR did. I didn't even know you'd applied until after you were offered the position. Nobody will believe that. They'll think you orchestrated this whole thing as some kind of sick revenge. The press will love it. The board will love it. Your precious company reputation will be destroyed. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You want to talk about my performance? Let's talk about yours. You had money this whole time. You watched our parents struggle. You let me think I was finally getting ahead while you sat up here in your tower playing games. What does that say about your character? Our parents aren't struggling. They own their home outright. Dad has a pension. Mom has her investments. They chose to kick me out because they never valued me, and you know it. I know you abandoned your family. I protected myself from abuse. You call our parents abusive? Emma's voice rose. They loved us. They provided for us. They loved you. They provided for you. I was the spare, the backup, the disappointment, and you loved every minute of it. Emma straightened up, smoothing her dress. You know what? This conversation is pointless. Here's what I want. Director position. $50,000 signing bonus. Company car. And you drop your defense of that lawsuit. Give Mom and Dad the money. Keep the family happy. I stared at her in disbelief. You're blackmailing me. I'm negotiating. Family helps family, right? Or is that only when it benefits you? Get out of my office. I'll be back. And next time, you'll take me seriously. She walked to the door, then paused, looking back. Oh, and Mom and Dad? They're planning to come to the next board meeting. They have the right as concerned citizens, especially since your company has been in the news. They're going to tell the board all about your character issues, how you abandoned your family, how you're vindictive and cruel. That's not how board meetings work. Maybe not, but they can make a scene. They can talk to board members individually. They can go to the press with more stories, unless we come to an agreement. Think about it. She left, and I sat there feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My own sister was blackmailing me, using our parents as weapons, threatening my company, my reputation, everything I'd built. Marcus came in 5 minutes later with coffee and a concerned expression. That looked intense. She's threatening to destroy the company if I don't give her a promotion and pay off our parents. That's extortion. That's family, apparently. Over the next week, Emma made good on her threats. She went to Stuart, the board member who already questioned my leadership. I learned about it from Margaret, who called me at home one evening. Stuart came to me today asking questions about your judgment. He said a concerned employee approached him with information about your treatment of family members. I'm guessing that employee was your sister? She's trying to turn the board against me. It's working. Stuart is calling for a review of your interpersonal conduct. He's got 3 other board members interested. My parents escalated too. They contacted the local news with a follow-up story. The headline, Wealthy CEO Daughter. Let Parents Suffer While Building Empire. The article was vicious, painting me as calculating and cruel. It included quotes from neighbors about how proud my parents had always been of Emma, how they'd sacrificed for both daughters, how I'd secretly become rich while letting them struggle. The article specifically named Horizon Solutions. By Friday, we'd lost 2 more clients. Smaller accounts, but the pattern was alarming. My lawyer estimated we'd lost nearly $3 million in revenue due to the publicity. The board called another emergency meeting. This time, there were 12 members present, instead of the usual 7. They were taking this seriously. Stuart led the attack. This situation is untenable. We're hemorrhaging clients. Our reputation is being damaged daily. And it all stems from your inability to handle your personal affairs discreetly. My personal affairs are being weaponized by people who want money, I countered. I won't give in to extortion. Maybe you should, another board member, Thomas, said quietly. Sometimes the cost of being right is higher than the cost of compromise. You're suggesting I pay them off? I'm suggesting you make this go away before it destroys everything we've built." Margaret tried to defend me, but even she looked worried. The vote was close, but the result was clear. I had 30 days to resolve my family situation, or the board would vote on my removal as CEO. 30 days to save my company from my own family. That night, I sat in my new apartment, looking through old photos. I had finally moved out of the motel, rented a small place downtown. In one photo, I was 7 years old, holding a science fair trophy. Emma stood next to me, age 5, scowling. My mother had her arm around Emma. My father was looking at something off camera. Nobody was looking at me. In another photo, Emma's high school graduation. Everyone was smiling, proud, excited. There was no photo of my graduation. I'd walked across that stage alone, with nobody in the audience. My phone rang. "Emma, have you thought about my offer?" she asked without preamble. "It's not an offer. It's extortion. Call it whatever you want. But the clock is ticking. The board is losing faith. Clients are leaving. Mom and Dad are preparing to make your life hell. Or you could make this all go away. Your choice. I'm not rewarding bad behavior. Then enjoy losing everything you worked for. Oh, and by the way, Stuart loved my marketing proposal. He thinks I have real leadership potential. Funny how things work out, isn't it?" She hung up. I sat there in the dark, holding my phone, feeling the walls closing in. Everything I'd built, everything I'd sacrificed for, was being torn apart by the very people who should have supported me. But then I remembered something. I'd been through worse. I'd survived a childhood of neglect and favoritism. I'd put myself through college working 3 jobs. I'd built a company from nothing while sleeping 4 hours a night. I'd done impossible things before, and I could do them again. I opened my laptop and started digging. If Emma wanted a war, she was about to learn that I'd been preparing for this battle longer than she knew. Emma didn't wait for my response to her ultimatum. By Monday morning, she'd already met with Stuart twice over the weekend. I found out from my private investigator, a woman named Rachel, whom I'd hired the day after the lawsuit was filed. Rachel had been quietly documenting everything, following the paper trails, watching the players. "Your sister met Stuart at a coffee shop Saturday morning," Rachel reported, showing me photos on her tablet. Then again Sunday evening at a restaurant. She left both meetings looking pleased with herself. What are they planning? Based on what I could overhear, she's positioning herself as a concerned employee who's worried about the company's leadership. She's feeding him information about your family situation, but framing it like she's trying to help resolve things. She's good. I'll give her that. She comes across as caring and professional. On Tuesday, Stuart called for a formal board review of my conduct. The email was professional, citing concerns about interpersonal judgment and potential conflicts of interest. It was scheduled for Friday afternoon. I had 3 days. My parents made their move on Wednesday. They didn't come to the office this time. Instead, they held a press conference. My mother, dressed in her Sunday best, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue while my father read from a prepared statement. "Our daughter Angelina built her success by turning her back on the people who raised her. We're not just asking for financial compensation for her childhood expenses. We're asking for recognition of how deeply she's hurt us. We're here today to warn other parents. Success can change people. It can make them forget where they came from." The press ate it up. By that evening, the story had spread to regional news. Tech CEO in Family Feud was trending on social media. Commenters were split. Some defended me, saying parents can't charge for raising their kids, but more blamed me, calling me heartless for not just paying to make my elderly parents happy. What none of them knew was that my parents weren't elderly. My mother was 52, my father 55. They were healthy, financially stable, and perfectly capable of taking care of themselves. But in carefully framed photos and tearful interviews, they looked like fragile victims. Thursday morning, I received an email from Stuart that made my blood run cold. It was a PDF document, a petition signed by 7 board members out of 12. Motion to remove CEO for conduct unbecoming. The hearing was moved up to Thursday afternoon instead of Friday. They were trying to catch me off guard, give me less time to prepare. I called Margaret immediately. "I didn't sign it," she said. "Neither did Thomas or Lisa. But Stuart got the others. He's been working them all week." "I'm sorry, Angelina. I tried." "What are my chances?" Silence. Then, "Not good. The publicity has scared them. They think removing you temporarily will make the problem go away." "And permanently? If Stuart has his way?" "Yes." I spent Thursday morning in crisis mode. My lawyer, my PR team, my executive staff, all gathered in the conference room, preparing a defense. But we all knew the truth. The board wasn't really concerned about my conduct. They were concerned about money, reputation, and liability. And Emma had given them a perfect scapegoat. At noon, as I was reviewing documents for the hearing, Marcus came in looking shaken. "You need to see this." He showed me an email that had been accidentally sent to the General Executive Distribution List instead of just to Stuart. The sender was Emma. The subject line was, "Board Hearing Preview." I opened it and felt my world tilt. It was a complete presentation, 40 slides, meticulously prepared. The title slide read, "Leadership Concerns, a Call for Change." The slides that followed were devastating. They accused me of fraud, nepotism, hostile work environment, mental instability, and financial misconduct. Each accusation was supported by evidence that looked official, but was actually manipulated or taken completely out of context. One slide showed an email where I'd asked HR to monitor Emma closely. Emma had framed it as harassment. Another showed expense reports where I'd approved my own business travel. She framed it as self-dealing, leaving out that board policy required CEO approval for all travel over $5,000, including my own. There were screenshots of my panic attack in the bathroom, which someone must have told Emma about. She described it as a mental breakdown and inability to handle stress. There were doctored emails made to look like I was playing favorites with certain employees. There were financial projections suggesting the company had lost money under my leadership, which was completely false. The final slide was the most damaging. Recommendation: immediate CEO removal. Interim replacement: Stuart Michaels, with Emma Walsh promoted to Chief Operating Officer to assist in transition and provide family reconciliation. Emma hadn't just been trying to get promoted. She'd been plotting a complete takeover of my company. With Stuart as a puppet CEO and herself as COO, she'd effectively control Horizon Solutions. Everything I'd built would be hers, and she'd sent it to me by accident. She'd meant to send it only to Stuart, but she'd hit the wrong email group in her distribution list. I sat there staring at the screen, and something inside me snapped. Not in anger, in clarity. I'd been so worried about appearing vindictive, about protecting my family, about doing the right thing, but they weren't playing by those rules. They never had been. I called Rachel, my investigator. "Tell me you found something. Anything." "Oh, I found something," she said. "Question is, are you ready to use it?" "What is it?" "Emma's resume. The one she submitted with her job application. It's a work of fiction. She claims a degree from Boston University." I called. "They have no record of her." "She claims 3 years of experience at a marketing firm in Chicago. That firm went out of business 2 years ago, but I tracked down the owner. Emma never worked there. She listed references from people who don't exist or didn't know they were being used as references. She committed fraud to get this job. Complete fraud. And she signed our standard ethics agreement stating all information was truthful. That's a legal document. She could face criminal charges. What else? She's been stealing from the company. Small amounts, under $2,000 total, charged to fake expense accounts. She probably thought nobody would notice. I notice everything. There's more. She's been in contact with Jason Drummond. My stomach dropped. Jason Drummond was CEO of Vertex Digital, our biggest competitor. What kind of contact? Email, phone calls, 2 in-person meetings. She's been feeding him information about our clients, our strategies, our pricing. He offered her a vice president position if she can bring him a complete client list and enough inside information to poach our top accounts. That's corporate espionage. It's theft of trade secrets. It's a felony. I have emails, recordings, everything. Emma thought she was being careful, but she got sloppy. Used her personal email for some of it. Met Drummond in public places where I could photograph them. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Emma hadn't just betrayed me as a sister. She'd betrayed every employee at Horizon Solutions. She'd put 200 people's jobs at risk for her own advancement. Send me everything. All of it. Complete documentation. Angelina, if you use this, there's no going back. Emma could go to jail. Your parents will never forgive you. The media will have a field day. They made their choice. Now I'm making mine. At 11 p.m. that night, as I sat in my office preparing for the board hearing the next afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Sweet dreams, sis. Tomorrow you lose everything, just like you deserve. Another message followed. Mom and Dad always knew you were worthless. Now everyone else will know too. And then, I'm going to enjoy watching you beg for my mercy tomorrow. I looked at those messages for a long time. Then I opened the folder Rachel had sent me. Page after page of evidence. Fraud, theft, espionage, betrayal. I made copies. One for the board, one for the police, one for our legal team, one for the media, if it came to that. Then I sent Emma a message. See you at the hearing. She replied immediately. Can't wait. Neither could I. I arrived at the office at 5 a.m. on Friday morning. The board hearing wasn't until 2 p.m., but I needed time to prepare, to think, to be absolutely certain I was making the right choice. Marcus found me at 6, sitting in my office with 3 different folders laid out in front of me. You look like you haven't slept, he said, setting down a coffee. I haven't. I've been trying to decide if I'm about to save my company or destroy what's left of my family. From what I've seen, there's not much family left to destroy. He was right. Whatever fragile connection I'd had with my parents and Emma had been severed the moment they chose extortion over relationship. But knowing that didn't make it easier. At 7, my lawyer arrived. I showed him everything Rachel had found. He read through it carefully, his expression growing more serious with each page. This is significant. The resume fraud alone is grounds for immediate termination and potential legal action. The embezzlement and corporate espionage are criminal matters. If you present this to the board, Emma won't just lose her job. She could face serious charges. I know, but there's a risk. Emma could claim you fabricated evidence out of spite. Your parents will certainly say so. The media will question whether this is revenge. Is the evidence solid enough to withstand scrutiny? Absolutely. It's documented, verified, and corroborated. But that won't stop people from questioning your motives. My motive is protecting my company and my employees. That's enough. At 9, Margaret called. Stuart is already here, meeting with board members. He's campaigning hard. He has Emma's presentation, and he's showing it to anyone who'll look. You need to know, he's convinced at least 8 members to vote for your removal. 8 out of 12. That was a supermajority. Even if I presented Emma's crimes, would it matter? Or would they see it as a desperate attempt to deflect? At 11, my parents showed up. Not at the office this time. They were outside, on the public sidewalk in front of the building, holding signs. CEO, abandons family, wealth, without values. Horizon Solutions, built on broken families. There were news cameras. Local reporters interviewing my parents. My mother crying about how success had corrupted her daughter. My father talking about the importance of family values. Inside, Emma was holding court in the cafeteria. I watched on security cameras as she played the concerned employee, worried about the company's future, saddened by having to speak up about her own sister. She was good, really good. She had people convinced she was the victim here. At 12:30, I made a decision. I called Rachel one more time. I need you to do something. Contact Jason Drummond at Vertex Digital. Tell him we have evidence of Emma's espionage and that we'll be pressing charges. Give him a chance to cooperate with the investigation. If he provides testimony about what Emma offered him and what information she shared, we'll consider not pursuing charges against his company for receiving stolen proprietary information. You think he'll cooperate? He's a businessman. He'll do what's best for his company. And what's best is distancing himself from Emma immediately. On it. At 1 p.m., I got a call from my oldest friend, Sarah. We'd met in college, before my family situation had deteriorated completely. She was one of the few people who knew the whole story. I saw the news, she said. Your parents are outside your building with signs. I know. Are you okay? I don't know. I'm about to either save my company or lose everything. I have evidence that Emma committed fraud and espionage, but using it means there's no going back. My family will never forgive me. Angelina, listen to me. You didn't create this situation. They did. Your parents chose favoritism over fairness. Emma chose ambition over integrity. All you're doing is defending yourself and your company. That's not revenge. That's survival. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm just being vindictive and can't see it? Are your employees counting on you? Yes. Are 200 people's jobs at stake? Yes. Then you're not being vindictive. You're being responsible. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. That's what abusers do. They make you question your own reality. After I hung up, I sat there thinking about what she'd said. Abusers make you question your reality. My parents had done that my whole life, telling me I was wrong to feel hurt, that I was too sensitive, that Emma deserved more because she was special. And I'd believed them. Part of me still believed them. But the evidence didn't lie. Emma had committed crimes. Stuart was trying to orchestrate a coup. My parents were weaponizing publicity to force my compliance. These were facts, not feelings. At 1:45, I gathered my materials and headed to the boardroom. Board members were already assembling. Stuart sat at one end of the table, looking confident. Emma wasn't present since she wasn't a board member, but I knew she was close by, probably in Stuart's office, waiting for the outcome. At 1:55, just as I was about to enter the boardroom, my phone rang. Rachel. Jason Drummond just called me back. He's willing to cooperate fully. He'll testify that Emma approached him with stolen information, offered to bring client lists and proprietary strategy documents, and negotiated a VP position in exchange for intelligence on Horizon Solutions. He recorded 2 of their conversations. He's sending me the audio files now. Why would he record them? Because he's smart. He knew it was risky dealing with a corporate spy. He wanted insurance in case it went bad. It just went bad. Send me those files immediately. And Rachel, thank you for everything. Go get them, boss. At 2 p.m., I walked into that boardroom carrying 3 folders. One contained Emma's fraudulent resume and the evidence of her theft. One contained proof of corporate espionage, including Jason Drummond's testimony. The third contained copies of Emma's threatening text to me, her manipulated presentation, and documentation of her workplace misconduct. Stuart called the meeting to order. We're here to discuss serious concerns about CEO Angelina Carter's fitness to lead this company. I have a presentation prepared by a concerned employee that outlines these issues. He opened his laptop to display Emma's presentation. I let him show the first 3 slides, the ones accusing me of various misconduct. Then I stood up. Before we continue, I need to present information relevant to this hearing. I distributed copies of my first folder to every board member. What you're looking at is the employment application and resume of Emma Walsh, the employee who created the presentation Stuart is showing you. You'll notice she claims a degree from Boston University. I've contacted the university. They have no record of her attendance. She claims 3 years of experience at a marketing firm that went out of business. I've contacted the former owner. Emma never worked there. She falsified her resume to obtain employment at this company. Board members started reading, their expressions changing from curiosity to concern. Stewart tried to interrupt. This is clearly a setup. Angelina is trying to discredit her own sister out of spite. I ignored him and distributed the second folder. This folder contains evidence that Emma Walsh has been engaging in corporate espionage. She's been meeting with Jason Drummond, CEO of Vertex Digital, our primary competitor. She's been providing him with confidential client information, strategic plans, and proprietary data in exchange for a promise of a vice president position at his company. The room went silent. Margaret picked up the documentation, her eyes widening. Is this verified? Jason Drummond has agreed to cooperate fully with any investigation. He recorded 2 of his meetings with Emma and is willing to testify. Those recordings are included in your packets. Stewart's face had gone pale. This is impossible. Emma would never. I distributed the third folder. This contains the threatening text messages Emma sent me last night. Screenshots of expense reports showing her embezzlement of company funds totaling nearly $2,000, and witness statements from 6 employees about her creation of a hostile work environment. It also contains the presentation you're currently showing, which Emma accidentally sent to me yesterday. In it, she proposes her own promotion to Chief Operating Officer and your installation as CEO, Stewart. Stewart closed his laptop abruptly. Several board members were now staring at him with suspicion. Thomas, one of the neutral board members, spoke up. Stewart, did you know about Emma's plan to position herself as COO? She mentioned that she had leadership potential. Did you know she was your source for all these accusations against Angelina? Stewart didn't answer. Margaret stood up, her voice sharp. This entire hearing is based on false pretenses. We were manipulated by an employee who committed fraud to get her job and espionage to advance her career. And, Stewart, you were either complicit or willfully blind. I was trying to help the company, Stewart protested. The publicity was damaging us. The publicity was orchestrated by that same employee and her family as part of a blackmail scheme, I said quietly. Emma demanded I promote her to director, give her a $50,000 bonus, and pay off my parents' frivolous lawsuit. When I refused, she went to you with manufactured evidence against me. The room erupted in conversation. Board members arguing, questioning, demanding answers. In the chaos, my phone buzzed. Marcus had sent me a message. Emma just showed up outside the boardroom. She's pacing, looks nervous. I excused myself from the room and walked out. Emma was standing in the hallway, checking her phone repeatedly. When she saw me, her face went through a series of expressions. Confusion, concern, then fear. What's happening in there? She demanded. Stewart said it would be quick. He said they'd vote you out and we could move forward. Come with me, I said. I led her to my office. She followed, probably thinking I was going to negotiate to surrender. Marcus was waiting inside. He hit record on his phone as Emma entered. Emma, I'm giving you one chance, I said. Resign, right now, voluntarily. Walk away before this gets worse. She laughed, but it sounded uncertain. Why would I do that? Stewart has the votes. You're done. I opened the first folder on my desk. Because if you don't, what I show the board won't just end your career here. It will end any career, anywhere. You falsified your resume. You committed fraud. You embezzled company funds. You engaged in corporate espionage. These aren't workplace infractions. These are crimes. Her face drained of color. You're bluffing. I have your fake resume verified by the institutions you lied about. I have expense reports showing your theft. I have recordings of your meetings with Jason Drummond where you sold out this company. I have everything, Emma. And if you don't resign in the next 10 minutes, I'm presenting all of it to the board, filing criminal charges, and releasing a statement to the media. She tried to grab the folder. I pulled it away. You can't do this. I'm your sister. Family doesn't destroy family. The words hung in the air between us. After everything she'd done, After all the lies and schemes and betrayals, she was playing the family card. "You just spent 3 months trying to destroy me," I said. "You tried to steal my company. You blackmailed me. You poisoned my reputation. You did all of that, and now you want me to protect you because we share DNA? I was just trying to succeed. You had everything. I had nothing. You had parents who loved you, who chose you, who gave you everything while giving me scraps. You had advantages I never got, and you still had to cheat to get ahead." Emma's eyes filled with tears. Real tears this time, not the manufactured ones she'd used to manipulate others. "What do you want from me?" "Your resignation. In writing. Right now. You leave this company. You never work in this industry again. And you tell our parents the truth about what you did. And if I don't, then I call the police. Corporate espionage is a felony. Fraud is a felony. Theft is a crime. You go to jail, Emma. And every newspaper that's been writing stories about what a terrible person I am will have to print retractions explaining that you're a criminal." She stood there, shaking. In that moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the smile on her face when our parents threw me out. The satisfaction in her eyes when she thought she was winning. The cruelty in her voice when she sent those threatening texts. "Fine," she whispered. "I'll resign." I pulled out a pre-written resignation letter. "Sign this." She signed it with a trembling hand. I witnessed it. Marcus witnessed it. It was official. "Now get out of my building." She walked to the door, then turned back. "They'll never forgive you for this, Mom and Dad. They'll never speak to you again. They stopped speaking to me a long time ago. I was just too desperate for their love to notice." Emma left. I watched her walk down the hallway, past the boardroom where her coup had failed, past the executive offices she'd never occupy, toward the elevator that would take her out of my life forever. I returned to the boardroom. The board members had been reviewing the evidence in my absence. Their faces told me everything I needed to know. Margaret spoke first. "Emma Walsh has resigned. Stuart, I'm calling for your resignation as well. You allowed yourself to be manipulated and nearly cost this company its founder and CEO." Stuart stood, his face red. "This is ridiculous. I was trying to help." "You were trying to stage a coup," Thomas interrupted. "Whether you knew Emma's evidence was fabricated or not, you bypassed proper procedures and attempted to remove our CEO without due process. That's unacceptable." Stuart left without another word. After he was gone, the board spent another hour discussing the situation. In the end, they voted unanimously to retain me as CEO, issue a public statement supporting my leadership, and implement new oversight procedures to prevent board members from acting unilaterally. It was over. I'd won. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like survival. The next morning, I arrived at the office to find my parents already waiting in the lobby. Security had called me on my way in to warn me. I considered having them removed, but I decided I needed to face them one final time. They were sitting on the visitor chairs, looking small and old in a way I'd never noticed before. When I approached, my mother stood up, her face a mixture of anger and desperation. "How could you do this to your sister?" she demanded, her voice echoing in the lobby. I kept my voice calm, professional. "Let's take this to a conference room. This isn't the place." They followed me upstairs. In the conference room, with Marcus present as a witness, I laid out everything. The fraudulent resume, the embezzlement, the corporate espionage, Emma's scheme to take over the company, the blackmail attempts. My father shook his head repeatedly. "No, Emma wouldn't do these things. You're making this up to hurt her. I have documentation, recordings, third-party testimony from Jason Drummond at Vertex Digital. Would you like to hear the audio of Emma selling out this company's secrets?" I played one of the recordings Rachel had sent me. Emma's voice came through clearly. "I can get you their complete client list, their pricing structures, everything. Once I'm COO, I'll have access to all of it. You just have to make sure the VP position is waiting for me." My mother's face crumpled. She was desperate. You had everything. We were just trying to help her get ahead. By destroying what I built? By attempting extortion? By filing a frivolous lawsuit? You owed us, my father insisted. We raised you, fed you, housed you. You're legally and morally wrong. Parents don't get to charge their children for existing. But even if you could, you'd owe me, not the other way around. Do you know how much therapy I've needed because of the way you treated me? How many years I spent thinking I was worthless because you convinced me I was? My mother tried a different approach, her voice softening. We're still family. We can work this out. Emma made mistakes, but we can forgive her. You can drop the charges. I haven't filed charges. Yet. That's Emma's one piece of luck. But she's never working in this industry again, and she's lucky she's not in jail. As for you two, I'm making you an offer. One time, you drop your lawsuit, you stop talking to the media, you leave me alone. In exchange, I won't pursue a countersuit for defamation and harassment. You'd sue your own parents? My father's voice rose. You sued your own daughter. You tried to extort money from me. You helped Emma attempt corporate espionage. So yes, I would sue you, and I'd win. There was a long silence. Finally, my mother spoke, her voice bitter. So that's it? You're cutting us off completely? You cut me off years ago. You just expected me to keep coming back for more abuse. I'm done. I built this company to prove I had value, not to you, but to myself. And I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your love. I don't need anything from you. We're your parents. You owe us respect. Respect is earned. You haven't earned it. My father stood up, his chair scraping loudly. You'll regret this. When you're old and alone with nobody who cares about you, you'll regret pushing away your family. I'm not alone. I have 200 employees who depend on me. I have friends who've supported me through this nightmare. I have a company I built with integrity and hard work. That's my family now. You're just people who share my DNA. They left without another word. I watched them go, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Not sadness, not anger, relief. The weight of trying to earn love from people who would never give it was finally, completely gone. Over the next 3 months, life slowly returned to normal. The lawsuit was quietly dropped when my parents realized they had no case, and I had excellent lawyers. The media ran correction stories after I provided evidence of Emma's crimes and the attempted corporate coup. Most of the articles were small, buried in back pages, but they existed. The truth was on record. Clients who'd left came back, apologizing for believing the false narratives. New clients came too, impressed by how I'd handled the crisis with transparency and integrity. By the end of the quarter, we'd not only recovered our lost revenue but exceeded our projections. Stewart resigned from the board in disgrace. We replaced him with 2 new board members, both women with experience in crisis management and corporate ethics. The board implemented new policies about conflicts of interest, whistleblower protections, and proper investigation procedures. Emma sent me a letter 6 weeks after her resignation. I almost didn't open it. When I did, it was 3 pages of justifications, excuses, and half-hearted apologies that still managed to blame me for everything. If you'd just shared your success with the family, none of this would have happened, she wrote. I threw it away without finishing it. My parents stopped speaking to me entirely, which was exactly what I'd requested. I heard through neighborhood gossip that they'd taken Emma back in, that she was working retail at a mall store, that they talked constantly about how I'd betrayed them all. I felt nothing about it. They were living the narrative they'd chosen. I was living the truth. One morning, I sat in my office reviewing a proposal Marcus had brought me. It was for a new company initiative, a scholarship and mentorship program for young women from difficult family situations. Women who'd been overlooked, underestimated, or actively sabotaged by the people who should have supported them. This would help a lot of people, Marcus said, watching my face as I read. It'll help the people I used to be, I said quietly. That's enough. We named it the Phoenix Initiative, for people who rise from ashes. The board approved it unanimously. Within 6 months, we had 50 women enrolled, receiving scholarships, professional mentoring, and support networks. Some of their stories made me cry. All of them made me grateful I'd survived my own family long enough to help them survive theirs. I learned things during those months of crisis that changed me forever. I learned that real family isn't about blood. It's about the people who build you up instead of tearing you down. It's about loyalty earned through actions, not demanded because of genetics. My real family was Marcus, who stood by me when everything fell apart. Rachel, who dug up the truth when everyone else believed lies. Margaret, who defended me in the boardroom when others turned away. The employees who sent me messages of support, who told me my leadership mattered to them, who showed up every day and did excellent work because they believed in what we were building together. I learned that protecting yourself isn't cruelty. It's survival. For too long, I'd let my parents convince me that setting boundaries was selfishness, that defending myself was vindictiveness, that wanting to be treated with basic dignity was asking too much. They were wrong. Demanding respect isn't arrogance. Refusing abuse isn't revenge. Walking away from people who hurt you isn't abandonment. It's self-preservation. I learned that success isn't measured by other people's approval. My parents wanted me to be small, manageable, dependent. Emma wanted me to be nothing, so she could be everything. But I became something anyway. Not because of them. Not even in spite of them, really. Just because I refused to accept their version of who I was supposed to be. I learned that justice doesn't always feel satisfying. I'd saved my company. Emma faced consequences for her actions. My parents lost their leverage over me, but I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired, sad for what could have been if they'd chosen differently. Grateful I'd survived, determined to make sure the pain I'd experienced would fuel something good in the world. On the 1-year anniversary of being thrown out of my parents' house, I stood at my office window watching the sunrise over the city. Somewhere out there, Emma was probably still bitter, still blaming me, still waiting for me to apologize for defending myself. Somewhere out there, my parents were probably still telling anyone who'd listen that I was the ungrateful daughter who'd abandoned them. And somewhere out there, people who didn't know me probably still believed I was the villain in their story. But in here, in this building, in this company, I was something different. I was the CEO who'd weathered a storm and come out stronger. I was the leader who'd chosen integrity over convenience. I was the survivor who'd turned pain into purpose. I was the founder of a program, helping other women find their way out of darkness. I was enough, just as I was, just as I'd always been, even when nobody else could see it. My phone buzzed. Marcus, asking if I was ready for the morning meeting. I smiled and typed back, on my way. As I gathered my materials and headed to the conference room, I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago, sitting on that curb with her broken belongings, feeling worthless and alone, not knowing if she'd survive the next week, let alone build something meaningful. If I could go back and tell her anything, I'd say this: you're stronger than they told you, braver than you know, worthy of respect and love, not because you earn it through perfection, but because you exist. The people who can't see that aren't your people. Let them go. Save yourself. Build something beautiful. And when you're ready, help someone else do the same. That's what I did. That's what I'm still doing. Every day, I choose to be the person my family said I could never be. Successful, strong, free. And that, more than any revenge, more than any apology they could never give, more than any reconciliation that will never happen, is the greatest victory of all. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and protecting a relationship that was hurting you? How did you find the courage to walk away from people who couldn't see your value? What would you say to someone who's sitting on their own curb right now, with their broken belongings, wondering if they'll ever be enough? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone in their struggles with difficult family dynamics. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is let each other know we've survived similar storms. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it brought you some comfort, some validation, or at least the knowledge that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Be kind to yourself. Set boundaries that protect your peace. Build a life you're proud of. And remember, the opinion that matters most is the one you have of yourself. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You deserve it more than you know.